positive prognosis on an aging population, a disparity in the church tax, and an ode to the summer sun. It's week 29. I'm Amos Miller. This is the Danish Press Review, where we grab the papers and see what they're talking about. Everything from today's edition comes from the July 13th editions of their respective papers. And with the Folketing out of session, we take a few interesting stories a little further from Christiansborg. We'll start with a piece in Børsen. Heavenly tax, 3 times higher in Lemvig than in Gentofte. Ulrik Horn writes about the disparity between kommuner on what percentages of a taxpayer's income is sent to the Church of Denmark. A teacher in Lemvig pays 6,300 kroner in church tax a year. A teacher in Gentofte, on the contrary, pays 1,900 kroner. The church tax only applies to members of the Church of Denmark, but a person is automatically enrolled as a member at baptism, which helps account for why there are 4.2 million members of the church, which accounts to about 70% of the population. Ulrik Horn found that the percentage of a person's taxable income going to the church is highly variable depending on where a person lives. Those living in more rural settings, particularly the western and northern coasts of Jylland, are paying anywhere from 1 to 1.3% of their income in church taxes, while those living in urban centers and suburbs pay significantly less, with the lowest in Gentofte, where they only pay 0.38% of their yearly income to the church. So why the disparity? According to Henning Boyer Hansen, a tax expert with BDO, there's hardly a large difference in operating expenses between single churches in Lemvig and in Gentofte, but when the income base in Lemvig is undoubtedly lower than in Gentofte, the tax percentage may necessarily be higher there to receive the same proceeds. Another reason is that rural communes tend to have more churches serving fewer practitioners, requiring more money from each individual to keep up buildings which can often be centuries old. On the backside of Information, an article from Jørgen Steen Nielsen brings the story of a small Greenlandic town fighting back against the Texas oil company. A major assault on Greenland. The people of the 328-person town of Itakotimit have been reaching out to anyone that will listen. Right now, we are in a situation where we feel threatened and overheard, and we kindly ask for your help and support. The village is close to a potential oil drilling site. In 2014 and 2018, licenses were given out to separate companies to explore oil drilling in those locations. Later, those companies merged to become the Texas-based company Greenland Energy. In 2021, the Greenlandic government decided that they no longer wanted to allow oil exploration or oil drilling. However, those licenses still remain valid for Greenland Energy. But the issue is more than just a story of pre-existing licenses. It factors into the larger drama about U.S. President Donald Trump's attempts to own the island country. Gorm Winter, formerly of Greenland's University, notes, everything speaks to the USA's justification for wanting to control Greenland being rooted in a business model packed in with security politics. It's about energy security, where American business interests seek to obtain entry to land and resources. Greenland Energy has fostered close connections with people inside Trump's orbit, including Louisiana Governor and Special Envoy to Greenland Jeff Landry, as well as the TV personality Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is even set to make a documentary about the drilling called Frozen Gold, although those plans have been put on ice. For the mayor of Itakotimit, Avarek Olsen, the case has many feeling like pawns in an economic game. Greenland isn't an ad campaign. Itakotimit isn't a background for investor presentations, and our citizens aren't props in a business story. Over in the pages of Berlingske today comes an interesting story about how Denmark might be uniquely positioned to benefit from an aging population. While the West fears a collapse, Denmark could earn billions on fewer children. Andreas Thorsen reports about a new analysis published by economist Torben M. Andersen at Aarhus University. The analysis makes the case that Denmark, unlike many other advanced economies experiencing population slowdowns, may actually benefit financially from having fewer children and more seniors. It's not because we don't take care of the elderly, but we have markedly more expenses from children and the young than most other countries. In many countries with less functioning welfare states, retirees take up the dominant part of the budget, so the demographic shock will hit them much harder. In Denmark, on the other hand, we invest in early life to secure social mobility. Just think, free education, student stipends, and subsidies for daycares. A Danish child is an expensive investment. And finally today, on the back pages of Kristi Dagblad, Ove Nørhave asks, why do we always talk about the sun? The sun doesn't only stand tall over the Danish country, but also in the Danish language, where it's included in innumerable sayings. Nørhave takes a tour around the Danish linguistic landscape to bring us the many references to our galaxy stars. With our Savior, the world's judge, comes eternal sun and summer. The sun rises and the sun sets when it has done its deeds. From the Bible, don't let the sun set on your anger. He even points out that the English phrase speak of has a much more positive connotation in Danish. When one speaks about the sun, it shines. A person can be so happy they shine like the sun. You can wake up so early you rise with the sun. If you're looking for justice, you can equally share the sun and the wind. And if you want a sporting competition to be fair, you can make sure no one plays with the sun in their eyes from start to finish. And with that, we'll finish this week's edition of the Danish Press Review. As always, if you like what you've seen, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps other people find this content. Thanks. See you next week.